Okay, everybody, today is the first day of the last unit of this class. It is the reproductive system. Today is going to be an intro to the reproductive system. We're going to talk about gender-specific genetics. And we are going to talk about female anatomy today. And if you don't know what the symbol for female is, it's a little circle with a cross that comes out the bottom of it. Female anatomy. Yes, Lauren? Can you go over next to Melanie? Okay, everybody. Let's talk about a little, the reproductive system is pretty self-explanatory. Carson, in all your infinite wisdom, can you tell me what is the purpose of the reproductive system? Yeah. The purpose is to produce offspring. If you want to find out the meaning of life, like the philosophical meaning of life, take a philosophy class, take a humanities class. In my AP bio classes, it's easy. The meaning of life is to reproduce. If your genetics are so great, if your genetics can get you to reproductive age, then pass them on so that the next generation can succeed thanks to your so-called awesome genetics. That's the meaning of life. Natural selection says that if you can survive predators, you can survive disease, natural disasters, the daily grind of finding food and water and not being killed, then your genetics are pretty darn awesome. Pass them on to the next generation. On the other hand, if your genetics really make it tough to survive, if you can't survive day to day, nature's kind of deemed your genetics as being not really great. And if you don't ever end up reproducing, the world is going to spin on just fine without you. Well, or your genes. So this is actually the only organ system out of all 11 that you can live without. You cannot live without your skeleton or your skin or your muscles or your immune system or your hormones and glands or your digestive system, urinary system, cardiovascular system, respiratory system, nervous system. You can live without reproducing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the genetics. So this is going to be kind of a bio lesson. Some of you are in AP bio or have taken AP bio. Some of you have not had bio since freshman year. Nonetheless, let's see if we can dig up some of that old knowledge. Here's an example. Hypothetically, Jesse skins his knee. In 2 months' time, his knee heals. Is this an example of mitosis or meiosis? This is mitosis. Mitosis is good for 3 things. It is good for healing, or what I say in my AP bio class, injury repair. It is good for growth. When Will would be in here, he's not here today, I would ask, he's almost my height. When he was in middle school, Will, did you feel that stretching in the back of your knee? He's like, all the time. He's like 6'3" and probably still getting taller. Carson, you remember feeling that behind your legs, that stretching feeling? Yeah, that's growing pains. And if you're shorter, you probably didn't feel it as much as some of the taller people in here, but we all have it. That is literally getting bigger. Carson, have you always been like 5'11"? No, you were smaller. How did you get from being a little baby to the size you are now? Mitosis is correct. And the last one is replacement. If any of you were to scratch your skin like I am now, or scratch your hair, there'll probably be some skin flakes that fall off. Skin and bone and organs and blood and everything just expires. It gets old. And you have to replace it with newer, healthy cells. That is done through mitosis. Now, in mitosis, you have a parent cell. A parent cell is just an original cell. Do any of you know? I know Isabella better know, Morgan better know, Zoe better know. Anyone else in here? How many chromosomes do humans have? 46 chromosomes. How many pairs is that? 23 pairs. So humans have 46 chromosomes. That 46 means 46 chromosomes. Jesse, when you skinned your knee and those cells got damaged permanently, they were destroyed, you want to make some new cells. Do you want the cells the new cells that are going to grow in there, do you want them to be identical to the ones that were there before your injury? Yes. So Jesse, in the process of mitosis, the new cells that will form are going to be identical to the cells that were there. So Jesse, in your knee, the skin, the cartilage, the bone, how many chromosomes of you are there in every single cell, not only in your knee, but in your whole body? How many chromosomes do you have in every single cell? 46. And so Jesse, if you have skin cells in your knee that are still there after your injury and they have 46, and they're going to make new cells there to heal your injury, how many chromosomes will the new cells have? 46. Guys, these new cells we call daughter cells. Daughter cells are just new. And here's the key with mitosis. This is really important. In mitosis, daughter cells are identical to each other and to the parent cell. If you bite your tongue and you're bleeding, new cells will have to form in there, grow in there. You want the cells to be identical to the ones that are already there. That is mitosis. When you break your bone, you want new bone cells to grow in to be identical to that. Now, here's the other process, meiosis. Meiosis is a reduction process. A parent cell forms 4 genetically unique daughter cells. And when I say that they are genetically unique, are they identical to each other? Yes or no? No. Are any of them identical to the parent? No. So here's how meiosis happens. Meiosis for humans, you start with 46. But after 2 rounds of cell division, you have 4 daughter cells. Now, this is a reduction process. If the parent cell is 46, how many do the daughter cells have? What is half of 46? 23. One day, most of you, I would imagine, at least half, are going to be parents. What amount of your chromosomes will you pass on to the next generation? All of your chromosomes or half of your chromosomes? You are going to pass on half. This is meiosis. Meiosis is only meant for gametogenesis. What does genesis mean? Create. Create what? That would be biogenesis. What is the word I just used? Gametogenesis. What are we creating? Gametes. What the heck are gametes, Morgan? Gametes are sex cells. What is the female gamete? The common name is egg cell. The true name is called an oocyte. You girls are born with all the gametes that you will ever have. You will run out one day. And then we have the male gamete. What is that called? Sperm. This is actually called a spermatocyte. Do males ever run out of sperm? Nope. Not unless they lose their testicles or die. That's about it. When do males start producing sperm? Puberty, so middle school. Okay, so what we're going to talk about now that we got that under our belt, let's talk about sex chromosomes. Biologically, males and females have one pair of sex chromosomes. This is your 23rd chromosomal pair. You guys have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Here's how I phrase it for my bio students. Jesse and Lauren are 22 23rds the same person. Let me tell you how I do this. Watch this. We have pairs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Okay, stop right there for a second. These chromosomes, chromosome pairs 1 through 22 are called autosomes. Lauren's autosomes, her pairs 1 through 22, are pretty much the same as Jesse's. These chromosomes are responsible for common features. How many bones does Lauren have? Do you remember how many there are? Not.
Is that kind of close though?
You make me feel like a horrible teacher.
How many bones in the body?
How many bones are in an adult human? No.
Is it not 16?
No.
224.
No. And this is going on the YouTube video too.
Is it in the 200s?
Yes.
Is it lower than what I said?
Yes. It's 206.
Bro, I was literally
No, this is you, Dylan. This is you. You looked at me. 206. You know what I'm saying? 206, Mr. Thorson. How about that? When you're at Target, you go, hi, you having a nice day today? You go, hello, how are you doing today, sir? How are you doing? Have a nice day. Speak up. You have 206 bones. Now, Lauren has 206 bones. How many bones does Jesse have?
36.
Is having 206 bones unique to one gender? No. How many kidneys does Jesse have?
2.
How many does Lauren have?
2.
How many stomachs does Jesse have? How many does Lauren have? You get where I'm going with this? These chromosomes are responsible for common features. But then we have the final pair. Pair number 23. This is your sex pair. This is what really separates males from females. So Jesse and Lauren are 22 23rds the same and 1 23rd different. This is going to be your sex pair. Now, if you are a male, what are your sex chromosomes? X, Y. If you are a female, what are your sex chromosomes? XX. Now, there are some minor exceptions. I can tell you one personally in my family. My Aunt Diane, and I'll make it some exceptions. My Aunt Diane had Turner syndrome. She was born with only one X chromosome in every cell. That other figure is a 0, as in not present. So Lauren has 2 X chromosomes in every cell in her body. Natalia has 2 X chromosomes in every cell in her body. Zoe has 2 X chromosomes in every cell in her body. My Aunt Diane only had 1 X chromosome in every cell in her body. When it caused her to not have a fully functioning reproductive system, so she was sterile. She couldn't function. And by the way, if my Aunt Diane had only 1 X chromosome, How many total chromosomes did she have? 45. Yes, Jacob. Good. She had 45. She only had one X chromosome, not two. Another one would be Klinefelter syndrome. This one is X, X, Y. Now, these are male because what chromosome do they have? They have a Y. But they are also sterile because they have too much female influence. So they have underdeveloped genitalia. Their testes are underdeveloped, which means they cannot produce sperm, which means they cannot reproduce. They also have some female features like broadening or broad hips, sparse or no facial hair growth, some breast development in the male. So they are male because they have that Y chromosome. They just have some female characteristics. If this person has 3 sex chromosomes, how many total chromosomes do they have in every cell? 47. That's right. Okay, but those are just exceptions to the rule. Let's not glorify the exceptions to the rule. Let's talk about the rule here. Now, what? Down syndrome is where you have 3 chromosomes in the 21st pair, which is there. Okay. Let's see. Where do I want to go next? Okay. So let me ask you all this. Girls, let's start with you. And the ladies. Every one of your cells has 2 X chromosomes. When you are going through meiosis, these are your egg cells. And this isn't exactly accurate, but it'll be fine for our purposes here. Olivia B, you paying attention back there? What are you looking at? Put it away. How many X chromosomes will be in each egg cell? 1. So girls, no matter what sex chromosome do you pass on to your future generations? You are always going to pass on X because that's all you've got, girls. That's all you have. You only have X. Now for the boys. What percent of the male sperm cell will have an X chromosome? And what percent will have a Y? So what parent determines the gender of the offspring? The male determines the gender. I have a funny story for you. Henry VIII, I think it was Henry VIII. Henry VIII was, ancient guy. I don't know the full history on his life, but I do know this. Henry VIII very badly wanted a son. And in order for a man to have a child, you need a woman. So he had a wife and they had a baby. It was a girl. And I might have my history messed up here, but he either divorced her or killed her. I can't remember what it is. I'm admitting that. I don't know which one. But let's just say she was no longer his wife, whether he killed her or divorced her, whatever it was. He got rid of her. And then he married a new wife. They had a child. It was a girl. Got rid of her. Had another wife. It was a girl. Got rid of her. Who's the guy? Who determines the gender? Him. And he's like banishing or killing. You guys can look it up. All these women, he's the one that determines gender, not her. All you girls will automatically pass on an X. That's all you have. All you guys, you have an X chromosome. And who did you get your X chromosome from? Your mother. You have a Y chromosome. Who did you get that from? Your father. So the male determines the gender. Now, here's the thing. Check this out. If this is a sperm cell, what chromosome is that sperm cell carrying? And this is a egg cell. These two fertilize. It will be a girl. On the other hand, let's erase that X. Let's make that a Y. What will the offspring be? It will be a boy. So this is how the whole deal happens. And by the way, here is what the cell will look like. You'll have XY, or if it was XX, it will be a female. Okay. Now, there is, however, something I want to talk about that is on this Y chromosome. I want to make a mark kind of like this. Morgan knows about this. Zoe should know about this. Isabella should know about this. We develop, no matter if you're male or female, we develop the same over the first couple months of pregnancy. Imagine this. Look at me. My left hand is XX. My right hand is XY. Now check this out. You're developing in the first couple months of pregnancy. XX, XY, you're developing the same. And here's some body parts that start to develop. Your heart, your brain, your digestive system. Jesse has a brain. Lauren has a brain. That is not affected by gender. Here's something that develops in both males and females. Nipples. Why do males have nipples? They're meant for breastfeeding. Because what develops first? Your gender or nipples? Nipples happen first. And so you're developing these parts, and then all of a sudden, something turns on. This gene turns on. And out of nowhere, the XY goes in a completely different direction. And the female continues to develop as a female. And what is now the male will develop in a totally different way as the male. Yes, Jacob. No. Yeah.
I have like a random question. Why do like some like women like don't show when they're pregnant?
It's just they're either.
How is that possible?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make sense.
Small uterus or large belly. There was a TV show on Discovery Channel. It used to be called I Did Not Know I Was Pregnant. And there was this there's this college freshman girl who gained a lot of weight freshman year because you ever heard the freshman 15?
Yeah.
A lot of college freshmen don't know how to feed themselves properly because mom and dad always fed them. And so they eat junk food. So this girl gained 75 pounds and she thought all of her weight gain was due to her eating Burger King every day. Turns out she was pregnant. I know. We're going to get to all that, Carson. Now, here's what I'm talking about. Morgan, do you remember what the name of this gene is that turns on at the right time to cause a fetus to develop as a male? SRY gene. The SRY gene is what causes a fetus to develop as a male. It is on the Y chromosome. If you do not have an SRY gene, you will develop as a female. You have two X chromosomes. If you do have an SRY gene and it turns on, you will develop as a male. You know, if you were in my AP bio class, we would talk about what happens if you are XY chromosome, but your SRY gene don't turn on. That does happen. Yes. Hurry up. It does happen where you are a male, you're XY, but your SRY gene doesn't activate. And so you develop as a female by default. That does happen. Okay, so we got the genetics down. Later in this unit, I'm going to tell you boys, especially, some of the body parts that you have that used to be female parts that changed into male parts once your SRY gene turned on. I'll give you a little teaser. Boys, Mason, Cooper, Nolan, Fletcher, Aiden, Lance, Dylan, Jacob, Jesse, Ben, and me, we all used to have ovaries. When your SRY gene turned on, what did they turn into? Bingo. We'll get to that later next week. Yes, make it fast. We'll get to that next week. We're going to get to that next week. I'll tell you. Okay, so that's just a teaser, but ladies first, we have about 14 minutes left in class. Let's get to labeling the female anatomy and identifying what's what, okay? So here's what I want you guys to do, please. I am fully aware that everything is already labeled for you. I'm going to block it out. Because no matter if I ask you to do this, you're not going to do it, and you're just going to try to get ahead of the curve. And some of you will just be busy with writing rather than listening to what I'm trying to teach you. So pay attention to what I'm trying to teach you, right, Carson? Yep. Yes. Now, this is a sagittal plane of the female reproductive system. There are some things in this image that have absolutely nothing to do with reproduction, which I want you to identify first and see if you guys might be able to figure it out. So let's do the non-reproductive structures first. I'm going to do this here and this. What system am I highlighting in green? Skeletal system, that is correct. This is the pubic bone. And what is the other green one that I highlighted in the back? That's part of the spine, the coccyx and the sacrum. the pubic bone is going to be right here. And then you have the coccyx and the sacrum back here. Next system that has nothing to do with your reproductive system. We're going to highlight it in purple. What system is this? This is the digestive system. Can you tell me exactly what organ it is? No, the top part. What organ is that? Large intestine, then what? Rectum, and then where? Anus. This is the digestive system. You have the large intestine, the rectum, and the anus. Okay, here's another part that is not associated with the reproductive system. I'm going to highlight it in yellow appropriately enough. Actually, yellow doesn't show up very well, so let's do a different color. Let's do red. What did I just highlight in red? The urinary bladder. And what are these tubes that, oh, please answer this so I can stop bringing this up every year. What are the tubes that go from the kidneys to the bladder? Ureters. Thank you very much. Those are ureters. That's part of the that's part of the urinary system. Now, contrary to what some of you may know, and believe it or not, in my experience, it's been girls that have been more confused on this than boys. Girls do not urinate from the vagina. It doesn't happen. They have a completely separate orifice anterior to the vagina. When I say anterior, what does that mean? In front of. That is the urethra, which leads up to the bladder. That is the urinary system. Are we clear on that? Great. So all that's left are is the female reproductive system. So let's take this one at a time. We're going to start here with the ovary. How many ovaries does a female have? The reason you only see one is because this is a side view. The ovary is where eggs are stored. This is also the site of oogenesis. Oogenesis is the production of egg cells. Now, girls, you are born with all the egg cells that you will ever have. When you are born, you have like several thousand, hundreds of thousands actually, but they're not ready. Girls, they're not ready. When you start puberty, you will begin releasing one egg a month, unless you have like some sort of weird variation where you secrete 2 a month or 3. That could be twins or triplets. But normally you secrete 1 a month and it alternates like the January, February, March, April, May, June. That's going to be alternating. And one day you will run out, probably in your 50s or 60s. That's called menopause. But by the time you hit puberty, all of those hundreds of thousands of egg cells have been whittled down to a few hundred. And so that's why some women tend to be choosy on who their mate is, because they have a finite amount, which means a limited amount. Make it fast, Carson.
Like, why do girls when they're like really like skinny or like stuff like they like miss their periods? Like,
doesn't have enough energy. You're anorexic.
You have energy for it?
Yeah, that's a bad sign. If you are on such a like anorexia binge that you stop your menstrual cycle, that's a red flag. Okay, guys, the next one is the fallopian tube. The fallopian tube has 2 other names. I'd like you to write these down. It is called the uterine tube or the oviduct. You can call the fallopian tube an oviduct, or it can be called the uterine tube. This is how an egg cell travels to the uterus. Also, something very important I would like you to add to the writing here. This is the site of fertilization. It's 3 names. The fallopian tube is where fertilization happens. when you have sexual intercourse and the sperm has made its way through the female's reproductive system, the sperm actually has to go all the way to the fallopian tube. Some people think it happens in the uterus. It happens in the fallopian tube. That is where fertilization happens, where the sperm enters the egg cell. And that, or you want to call that conception, the miracle of life, whatever. That's where it happens. Next, we have the uterus, or you can call it the womb. The uterus is made of smooth muscle. This is where a fetus develops. Now, I want to expand on this a little bit. I have you guys for 7 more minutes. So if you have any questions, meet me after class because I need to get all this out. The uterus is made of smooth muscle. So girls, not to get too personal here, I'll try to keep it PG. When you are having your menstrual cramps, can you control it? Simple answer is no. We don't need to go into total detail. You cannot control it here. So I have seen girls in my classes do this, and some of you will be conscious of this. You're like, I've seen it for years and years. And it's really painful when I see the girls doing that sitting next to a boy, and the boy says, "What is wrong with you?" And the girl says, "I have cramps." And the boy says, "Can you stop?" And then I tell the boy, "Run." She can't control it. She cannot control it. And so you might be thinking, well, how come when a woman gives birth, I've seen the TV shows, they tell her to push. Those are her skeletal muscles that she's using, her pelvic muscles, the muscles that you use when you were on the toilet. And yes, sometimes a woman does defecate, which means poop, when she gives birth. Perhaps a question you may want to ask. Were you a poop baby? Who in here was born via cesarean, C-section? Then you never had that. Your mother had her womb opened up and they pulled you out of her abdomen. All right. Now let's see if you guys know this. You guys are in high school. You should know this by now. What do you call the inner lining of the uterus that sheds every month during a woman's period? I'll look down here. It is called the endometrium. The endometrium is the inner lining of the uterus. This is necessary for pregnancy. And technically, if you were to have sex tonight, and if a sperm fertilized your egg tonight, you are technically not pregnant. You are considered pregnant when it implants into your uterus, which is several days later. Can an embryo implant into your uterus if you have no endometrium? No. I've always thought of the endometrium as kind of like the Velcro that keeps the pregnancy stable. Every month, girls, if you shed your lining, that's basically your body saying, we didn't get pregnant this month, gotta start over. You shed the lining and you regrow it. You shed the lining and you regrow it. You shed the lining and you regrow it. Are you supposed to shed your lining when you're pregnant? No. So there's a saying that some women say when they're pregnant, they go, "I'm late." Like, what do you mean, you're late for school? No, my period is late. I might be pregnant because you're not supposed to have a menstrual cycle while you're pregnant because you want to keep that lining. If she lost her lining while she has a fetus or an embryo, the pregnancy's gone. You have to have that. That's why some women get very nervous when they have spotting on their underwear if they are pregnant, because that means blood is being released. So a little spotting is not uncommon, but a lot, you might be losing your pregnancy. It does happen. The next is going to be the cervix. The cervix is the bottom of the uterus. This must be 10 centimeters dilated for childbirth. And what part of the baby is supposed to be born first? The head. So this has to stretch. Now, the cervix is very important because I kind of view it as the plug to the bathtub. Can the bathtub hold water if the plug is gone? No. If a woman had a cervical disease, perhaps cervical cancer, the cervix may have to be removed, and you can no longer support a pregnancy, just like you can't support a full bathtub if the plug is gone. And so it's very important that the cervix is intact. Next structure is going to be the vagina. The vagina has 3 functions. Can you identify what they are in our last 2 minutes? No, excretory is not it. She does not pee from her vagina.
Oh, yeah.
Sex is one reason. What's another? Childbirth. One more. Every month. Menstrual cycle. 3 functions, guys. Okay, we're almost done. We have less than 2 minutes. Next, you have the clitoris. This is anterior to the vagina and the urethra. Now, the main function of this is basically stimulation. It's sexual stimulation. There's a lot of nerve endings here. It's a very sensitive piece of tissue. Next is going to finally be, and remember this, boys, because you're gonna have your mind blown next week. You have the labia minora and the labia majora. Labium means lip. Majora means large. Minora means small. The minora is within the majora. This is the opening of the vagina. Guys, you had these once upon a time, and you're going to be really surprised on what this became when I teach you this next week. We're going to stop here. I hope you have all that labeled. And I'm going to shut down the video, and we will recap this next video, next lesson, and we'll do the male anatomy.